What is going on, everybody? So today is Walks of Wisdom Wednesday. So I haven't actually announced this, and today's kind of the official announcement, and I've been doing this for, going on 4 years. But the name of these talks is actually become a podcast. I have over 100 episodes. I didn't realize this until I started doing some accumulation. But this is called Walks of Wisdom, and today is my first official Walks of Wisdom Wednesday. So thank you for joining me. And today what I want to talk about is why nobody is your everything. And so, this is such a deep topic, so I'm going to take a little bit on this. But today we're talking about the identification that we give to other people, and that title and that identity is in our head. A lot of what I talk about in these Walks of Wisdom talks is a change of perception, how you look at stuff. And so today is about the way that you view other people. And so number one, what that entitles is that as we're a kid, we look to our parents because they are our main sense of influence. They are the people who give us our version of the world more than anybody. And when you're really little, you don't really have anything else to look to. Mr. Carey, what's going on, my man? So your parents are essentially your everything when you're very tiny because you have no way to do anything for yourself. And so it's okay to put so much emphasis on the value of what your parents bring to your world because they have all the experience and knowledge and love that they share with you as a child. And they show you how to do things the way that they know how to do them, and they're trying to help you come up as a good person in the world. So we start out with this concept that the people that we're around are there to deliver everything that we need. And that's hard to get away from as you get older. And so as you start to grow and you get into school, you start to develop friendships. And these friendships are relationships that you have with the people that you are forced to be around, okay? And of those forced interactions, you start to choose who it is that you enjoy being around more. Some of them you don't really like, some of them you like a little bit, some of them you really connect with, okay? And you start to develop this group of inner circle people that you choose to spend more and more of your time with. And there's a common saying in the personal development world that you become the equivalent of the 5 people you associate with most, all right? And so, first of all, if you're a parent listening to this, make sure that you know who your kids are hanging out with because they have the heaviest influence on them, even more than you do sometimes, because the children are willing to listen to their peers a lot of times more than their parents once they get to a certain age of, self-identification, all right? So as we start to develop this friend group, the people that we choose to be around, we carry that mentality. Kendra, good to see you. We carry that mentality of identifying those people that we choose to be around as our everything distribution center, okay, for education and inspirations and motivation and accountability and all the good things, okay? And that's okay in the beginning when you don't know any better, all right? But as an adult, hopefully you have learned some of the things that I'm going to share with you today. And if not, this is going to be mind-blowing for you. So when we grow up, we get better and better at being able to choose who it is that we want to associate with. When we're a little kid, you're like friends with everybody. Everybody's cool, everybody's around, there's just somebody there, and I'm happy that there's people in my world and whatever, and we tolerate just about anything that those people bring to the table. But as you get older and you start to understand things and you start to develop your own sense of self, you get less toleration for the things that you don't want to be around. And that's naturally going to be the things that you don't have interest in. And this is very important, is that you develop a self-identification of what you're excited about in the world, but also an identification of who shares those common interests with you. This is very important, all right? So when you go to choose friends as a little kid, you have a forced interaction with the people you go to school with. Mrs. Vicky, I'm out on my walk. You see me doing this. So I appreciate that title of Mr. Fitness. I'll take it. So as you start to develop these identifications of your own interest groups, and you start to identify who also has those same interest groups, you naturally gravitate towards those people. And those people start to have a heavier and a heavier influence on who it is that you become as a person, all right? And as you're seeing that same forced interaction, but the interaction changes. So for example, when you go to grade school, at least here in the United States, it's usually like kindergarten up through 4th, 5th, 6th grade, depending on where you live, okay? And you're around the same people for such a long period of time that you really whittle down who out of those people you want to be as part of your friend group, okay? Now, when you make the first transition, whether it's to middle school, junior high, whatever that next version of school is, some of those kids transition with you, some of them don't, and some of them that are there are kids that came from other areas of forced interaction that you were not a part of. So when you get to that next level, it's kind of a weird transition because you know some of them, but some of them you don't. And so it's almost like starting over, but not completely, because you carry a little bit with you from the previous version of school. So junior high is this weird transition of, I know some people, I'm meeting some new people, but I'm also identifying who I am as a person. I'm going through puberty. There's all this like change, revolution that goes on in your world. And you start to get more and more clarity about who you are, what you're involved in, what you're interested in, and you get more experience in the world that gives you less toleration, okay? And what this comes down to is an identification of specifically what you want to spend your time doing. Oh, Mrs. Larice Olson, this is my mom watching right now, so I better watch my mouth here, but what we're talking about today is nobody is your everything, okay? And so as you get into junior high, you develop less and less toleration for the people that you don't want to be around. You develop a stronger identity of self, which allows you to come out with your own emotional development, your own thought processes, your own boundaries, and the things that you really want to spend your time dealing with, okay? And in part of that, we develop this group of friends. Now, the friend group is also an extension of our family and all of the other people that we get to be around. But as we go through that junior high stage, it happens very quickly. And we get into the high school age. We get into this final forced interaction set where 0 to 18 is a laid out blueprint for you. You have an expectation and a requirement as a kid to go to school to get what they call education. This is the information that has been deemed, 50 years ago to be important, that you need to learn in order to operate within society, okay? So as part of that, we identify what pieces of that information we relate to, we identify with, we get excited about, and what of that do we want to get very specific about in how we operate in the world. Because once you get out of that forced interaction set of structured school, and high school especially, you get out into the real world and you have to have a plan. You have to know what it is that's important to you. You have to know what it is that you want to pursue as a way to offer value in society. And this is what we call a job. Okay? Now, I'm going way deep into this because it's important to understand how this development structure comes about. So when we get into the place where we're in this value set and we're interacting in the world and we want to get paid to do that, that's what you get paid for in a job, is what value are you providing, okay? And that usually comes around what problems are you solving. The harder problems you solve, the more money you make. But the people that you interact with become more of a choice and less of a forced interaction. The school set, you don't choose who goes to your school. those are people that live near that school. They have districts that for, that identification piece. But as you go out into the job world and the adult space, no one forces you to get a job. Even just to get a job alone is your own choice, but which job you choose to be involved in is also your choice. And as part of that job, who you interact with is also sort of a choice. Because you get to choose what that job is, you're going to identify and decide who those people are that you're around, okay? So as we go through the world, we develop this way of choosing our interaction set. And what this all boils down to is in every one of these decision-making processes, we choose the people we want to be around, and we put a weight on those people. It's not their choice, the weight that we put on them, but we give them a power. We give them the ability to influence who we are. And even though we don't understand that sometimes, that's naturally what happens. And where this gets messed up for most people is that they identify with a small group of people who have common interests with them, and they allow those people to ideally carry every weight for that person. And I'm sorry to tell you, but man, this will end in disappointment every single time, because no one is you. You are the only specific person in the world that carries this group of interests. Maybe you have semi-common interests that match up with some of the people that you're around, and some of them may not. Some of your interests are going to be a little bit different. The people that are your best friends usually carry the most common equivalents of interest levels for what you have involved in your world, but they are not exactly the same. They will always be their own version in the world. And so as you get into these identifications of who you want to hang out with, it's unfair, not only for you, but for the people that you're around, for you to put a weight of a title of everything on any single person. And this includes your spouse. Now, we haven't got into relationships yet, but this is just the identification of who we interact with, okay? Now, when we go into this choice of who it is that we identify with and what we're willing to tolerate and all of these things that become our inner circle, it's very, very important that you understand that each one of those people only brings a piece of importance to your world. So let me give you an example. I deal with a lot of different things. I deal with business. I deal with fitness. I deal with personal development. I deal with family. I deal with aesthetics and art and gardening and all kinds of things that are my interest group. There is never, ever going to be, and I don't expect to find a single person that carries all the exact same interests that I do. And so it's unfair for me to expect for somebody to give a crap in the exact same way about all the same things that I care about. So when I go into the gym, for example, I'm going to talk to those people and interact with them in a way that meshes with the common interest. If I go into the gym and I talk to these people about how to work out and what my sets look like and what my reps are and how my rest looks and what I've been doing for nutrition and how I'm sore and how I'm building and all the things that are involved in the gym-related world, I'm going to get good interaction. I'm going to get good feedback because my expectation meets what their ability is. Their interest levels have to match what the conversation is about. And so if I was to go to a group of people who really enjoy gardening, my mom is one of these, so hopefully you're watching this. If I go to somebody that is interested in gardening and I start talking to them about lifting weights, immediately I will lose that person. They might tolerate me because they like me as a person, but they're not really going to understand or give a crap about anything that has to do with fitness unless they also carry that same common interest. And so it's very, very, very important for you to identify who it is that you are hanging out with, why you are associating with those people, what interests you have that are common, and target the conversations and the interaction around those pieces. Because if you expect anybody to ever fulfill everything for you, you're just going to let yourself down. And you might push some people away. They probably don't want to hear about, lifting weights if all they care about is planting gardens, right? So when this comes down to who we interact with as a friend group, it's very, very important that we allow ourselves to have various groups of friends. We need to have different interaction sets because our own interest levels are so wide. We're not all just uniformly only one thing. Maybe you only get paid in one way. Maybe you go to a job and you're the little guy in the, factory setting, and all you do is twist the little thing, and that's your job. If that's the only thing that you're ever involved in and you're ever interested in, okay, you're a simple person and that's totally your choice. But you're going to have a really tough time going outside of that world and talking to anybody about anything that isn't related to the twisty piece, right? And so this is where we become multifaceted people. We get out into the world and we have all of these various things of value that we're interested in, we learn about, we have experience in, and we share with other people on different passion levels based around that interest. So when you go into a relationship, this is amplified. This is extremely amplified, especially when you go into long-term relationships where you're connecting with somebody and you find that, man, this person has some common interests with me and I have this attraction to this person and man, I just really get a good vibe from this person, okay? And you start to develop this connection. And when you get to the point where you decide, wow, I really want to spend a long time with this person, you have to have a good idea of not only who you are, but who they are, what your commonalities are, and what your differences are. Because when you get into that relationship, not even your spouse can be your everything. I don't care how good you get along. I don't care how much common interests you guys share. No one can be everything. And so this is why when I get out here, I talk about all kinds of different things. And I'm never, universally voiced. Sometimes I talk about health. Sometimes I talk about wealth. Sometimes I talk about relationships. Sometimes I talk about mindset. Sometimes I talk about all kinds of different topics because this is me. And the people who need to hear my message are not always the same person. And I'm okay with that. And I don't expect every single person, every single time to show up and listen to what I have to say and identify with it and push the heart button and give me comments and all the stuff that shows interaction and interest. And I'm okay with that. Because the point of this is not necessarily to convince anybody of anything. This is a reason for me to get out and interact and give my thoughts to the world. And the people who share that common interest automatically gravitate. And so when you go into your own lifespan, whether it's a relationship with a partner, whether it's a friend group, whatever the interaction set is, understand that there are only going to be certain aspects that the people in those groups are going to be able to fulfill for you. And this is where you can start to win more often in the mental game. When you understand that you go into that fitness world and talking about the fitness game is the way that you win with fitness interested people. And then when I go into places that are about business, I talk about business. I'm not talking about fitness. I'm talking about things that relate to those people, and I get to have that good interaction there. And when I talk to my family about family stuff, I win that way. And when I talk to people about how to make money that are interested in making money, I win in that game. Once in a while, you will find those people that have that multifaceted interest level that matches with yours. But even if people only fill one specific set of interests, then it's okay to interact with those people. And if you are able to go into different various situations and you can learn what it is that that situation brings to the table that helps you grow as a person, and then you can identify the various areas where you are interested, and you just put yourself into those situations where the people in those situations have common interests, you can fill your world with awesome interactions all the time. But if you go into any interaction and any relationship set, whether it's a friend or a spouse or whatever the level of interest is, and you expect that person to understand every piece of you and to interact with every piece of you and to fulfill every interest level, man, you're going to be upset a lot. And this is where I see people get so mad. Facebook, holy crap. If you put something up on Facebook and there is somebody who doesn't identify with the same thought process that you have about it, they are doing nothing but a disservice to themselves by interacting in a negative way. If you put up some political post, for example, like maybe you like Trump for whatever reason, and there was something that, you thought he did was amazing, but there's other people who don't understand that, or they don't agree with it, and they take their time to sit there and bash on you and put out all this negative mindset stuff and negative interaction because it's not a common interest level that matches with yours. That's their problem, not yours. And if you allow that understanding that this person is not identifying with me, if you allow that to negatively impact you, it's going to be a tough world for you, all right? So giving yourself the right mindset when you go into these situations of interaction, understanding not everybody that's there, just because it may be a common interest situation. When I go to the gym, for example, some people like to only lift weights. Other people like to do cardio. Some people are there just to stretch. There's other people that are there to play volleyball or to, swim or racquetball or whatever the hell it may be. Just because we're talking about fitness, it gets more micro niche than what you have a specific interest in. And so this is where you have to set yourself up for success by allowing your expectation of other people to change and to be tolerant of the ones who don't have a similar interest group all the time. It's okay. Allow other people to be who they want to be. That's their choice. You get to be who you want to be, and you get to choose who you interact with, and you get to choose the words that you say, the people you say them to, and who you decide next time to also interact with again. And this is that development of a separate set of friends groups based on whatever your specific interest levels are. And the more groups of friends that you can have, the easier it is to fill all the needs of what you're looking for in your world. And so hopefully you guys understand where I'm going with this today. That no matter what level of interaction you have with somebody and what your experience is around that situation and what the commonalities of interests are, no one's ever going to fulfill every part of you. Even your spouse, okay? You're going to get in a relationship with somebody that, man, for me, the best relationship advice I can give you is find someone you can tolerate at their worst. Because in the good times, that's the easy part, right? But when things break down and shit goes sideways, man, you really got to know who it is that you're dealing with. And if you can handle that, you can really spend a good amount of time with somebody that you call, a spouse. But in the friend group, man, I didn't realize how little some people actually mattered until I changed what my situation was. I lived in this same town for 25 years. And when I left, I had developed sort of a separation on a lot of levels with so many of the people that I had grown up with. And it was by choice. I didn't identify with a lot of people. I realized that my interests were not the same as other people, and I didn't want to deal with them because it just didn't match what I was doing. And so my inner circle got smaller and smaller and smaller. And when I left, the people who were not part of my inner circle didn't even know. That's how little they mattered. And this was in a town I lived in, man, 25, 30,000 people, tiny little town. And when I left, I didn't tell a single person that wasn't a part of my inner circle. And of those, nobody knew I was gone. And so guys, understand that your value that you put into other people is based on what you want to put into those people, not what you expect them to give you. All right? So fulfillment of our needs and wishes, purely our own responsibility. No one can do it for you. Absolutely, Larissa. Absolutely. It is up to you to make yourself happy and to simply share that happiness with other people who you see that have similar interests that bring their happiness to the world. All right? So don't put that weight on anybody else, that they are going to make you happy or that they're ever going to make you happy in all the ways that make you happy. That's up to you guys. So very much appreciate all you guys hanging out here. If you're watching this live, hit me with the hashtag live. If you're watching the replay, you know what it is, hashtag replay. That's what it is. So on top of this, guys, today's the official first time I'm announcing this, even though I've been doing this for 4 years and giving all this information and putting this out here today. If you would like to hear more of this content, I have a lot already. You can go over to walksofwisdom.com. There is a membership area you can jump in. There's an opportunity for you to hear all kinds of different mindset, health, wealth, relationships, whatever it is. This is life wisdom. This is the things that I understand in my world, and I'm sharing with you in my version of it. All right. And so if you guys want to get access to this, walksofwisdom.com is a free membership area. There's a bunch of information in there already, and I'm going to continue adding more and more of this content as I go along. I've got a podcast around this. We've got some bigger messages that are going to be coming out, more resources for you guys. And I'm very excited to continue sharing this information with you. So if you got questions in this, please hit me up in the comments, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Have a great day.